Love your oils and your pets? Dr. Janet Roark and I share the do's and don'ts of safe oil use at home so your furry friends stay happy and healthy. You know, many of our listeners use essential oils in their home, and then they wonder, oh, is it safe for my pets? But today I have with me Dr. Janet Roark, also known as the Essential Oil Vet, and it's amazing. We love the information she shares with us. She's here to tell us about some practical guidelines for use with pets and their oils and if they're safe. As you know, Janet, we have lots of pets at our home. We have a fish tank, we have a lizard, we have a snake, we have 3 dogs, chickens, you know, all sorts of things running around our home. Yeah, we have an aviary, right? And so when using essential oils in a home that has pets, what's the number one thing that you really want them to know?
I think the number one thing that families need to know when it comes to using essential oils with animals, with pets, is that you absolutely can use them with animals, with pets, as long as you follow a few guidelines, use them correctly, and use some common sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Are there some things that are particular about pets' physiology versus human physiology that make a little bit of a difference in how we would use them?
Yeah, so if you think about the majority of animals that we see in people's homes are dogs and cats.
Right?
And dogs and cats have a, a very sensitive olfactory system. If you think about it, we use dogs for, nose work. They have jobs that they use their noses to really detect things that we cannot detect,
Yeah.
right? And so when it comes to their olfactory system, dogs and cats have millions more olfactory receptors than humans. 200 to 300 million olfactory receptors compared to our measly 5 to 6 million or
Mm.
so. Yeah, it's a big difference. And so we just really want to make sure that when we're using essential oils in the home, we're factoring that in. And when we're diffusing, we make sure that we're following some guidelines as far as safe diffusion, 3 to 4 drops in your diffuser, making sure the room door is open so they can leave if they want to, and making sure the diffuser isn't an area where if your cat jumps up on the counter, they don't knock it over or drink out of it. Just some common sense things like that are going to be really beneficial for the people at home. If you are introducing essential oils in your home, just go slow, start low, and if we're using anything topically, dilute it properly, and just like we would with people, observe their behavior, see how they respond, and go from there. So,
You know, it's interesting. As I mentioned, we have 3 dogs in our home. We have some essential oils that one of the dogs just loves, and the other 2 leave the room when we diffuse those oils, and then we'll diffuse some others, and that one that loved the other ones will leave the room, and we'll have those other 2 dogs return. So they do have their preferences, right?
they do, just like people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. So let's talk about some foundational oils that are safe. You know, we have 13 foundational oils. What do you recommend from our foundational
Oh my
oils?
gosh, we have so many wonderful foundational oils. One of my favorites is actually digestin. We
Hmm.
can use digestin diluted topically with our animals to help with things like, I don't know if you've ever been watching TV with your spouse and then the dog passes a little gas.
Yes, everyone in the room knows that that has
Or
happened.
maybe it's your spouse and you're blaming the dog. I don't know,
Something.
but but I would say that digestion can really help with that
Yeah.
topically to make it just a more enjoyable experience for everyone.
So you would use that just like you would on a person, some on the hand, little fractionated coconut oil, and then rub
Rub the belly.
on
Yep,
the abdomen,
just on the
which they
belly.
love anyway,
They do. Most
right?
of them do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then copaiba is another favorite that you can use diffused or topically to help support the skin and have nice, healthy joints for as long as possible. Same thing with frankincense. We always
Hmm.
say, when in doubt, get the frankincense out. The
Sure.
same is true with animals.
Yeah.
And then, of course, one of the biggest things that we deal with animals is they really help calm us down.
Hmm.
They're really important. There's some studies that show that having animals in the home actually really supports the health of kids and the other humans as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we come home from a hard day, our animals kind of absorb that hard day.
Hmm.
And they don't understand why we're feeling a little down or feeling a little, um, you know, stressed. And we can actually diffuse essential oils not only to help the people in the home, but to help the animals kind of deal with that. Sometimes they're sad because we leave for the day and we don't see them for a few hours, and that can make animals really confused and not have the greatest time. And so when we diffuse things like lavender, that can help calm them down. We can diffuse while we're away, and they can have a wonderful experience. And I have a couple of clients that have like the little video cameras on at home, and when they don't turn on their diffuser, their animals will pace by the door. But when they put the diffuser on with the lavender in and they leave, they turn on the video and the dog is sleeping on the couch just like if they were home. So it's a really wonderful thing to add in.
That's great. We've talked before. We at one point we had 12 German Shepherd puppies at our
Oh my
home,
gosh.
and
That is chaos.
lot of energy. And the only way we could get them to all relax at one time is a little lavender with some fresh and just put it on the paws. We just dip one paw under the hand, and then within minutes, like tongue is hanging out,
Yeah,
drooling on the
everybody's
floor.
happy. I
Yeah,
love it.
it was great. Love it. So are there some safety tips that we would want to know when using essential oils? Because I assume with that, you've already given us that safety tip of leave a space for them to leave if they
Mhm.
want
Yep.
to. But are there other safety tips that we would want to keep in mind when using oils with pets?
Yeah, so I think the biggest safety tip when it comes to using essential oils with animals in general is you have got to use CPTG oils,
Mm-hmm.
because there
Right.
are a lot of adulterated essential oils on the market. And so I cannot stress that enough, that please, when we're talking about this stuff, like make sure you're using doTERRA oils. The other one is that animals metabolize things just a little bit differently than we do. And so there are some essential oils that you do want to stay away from. Tea tree,
Mm-hmm.
wintergreen, and birch are
Mm-hmm.
those ones. And then, of course, we have some oils that we consider hot oils, things like cassia, cinnamon, clove, things like that. They're not harmful to animals. So I don't want to say that, but they we want to use a little more caution. Like we wouldn't want to use oregano undiluted on a cat, for
Mm-hmm.
example. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just going to irritate their skin pretty significantly. So we want to keep in mind those just like practical common sense things. They're very, very strong. And so if you're using them topically, dilute properly before using them topically. When you're diffusing, don't diffuse 20 drops at a time. Stick to a more modest amount and observe their behavior. So I always like to invite the animals into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And the way animals communicate with us is through their body language, through their behavior. And so if we're paying attention, and like you were paying attention with your dogs, one left the room when we were diffusing that one.
Yeah.
So make a mental note and say, okay, this particular animal doesn't like it when we diffuse that one. And maybe find one that everybody likes when we're all going to be in the living room watching TV, for example. So having them be a part of the conversation is really important from a safety perspective. Also, you mentioned your birds,
Yeah.
and birds are a little more sensitive as well. They have a large respiratory tract compared to mammals of the same size because of their air sacules. And when it comes to chickens, they're a little tougher. But when we talk about our pet birds, like our parrots, parakeets, canaries, things like that, they are a little more sensitive to aromatics. And so when we're talking about those guys, let's just stick to diffusing. You might want to actually diffuse less oils, even than our dogs and cats. But they really greatly benefit from essential oils too, and stick with They love the citrus oils. They love the calming oils. So those are great options
Yeah.
for birds as well.
Yeah, usually the birds aren't running around in our home and can leave the room when we're
Right.
diffusing. And if
Yeah.
there's a scent that they don't like,
Can't get away
they
from it.
can't get away from it. So you really do have to watch that behavior and go, oh, it's obvious there's some stress going on with this
Yep.
bird. And so
Yeah. If
let's,
their enclosure is in the room, we
yeah,
need to really pay attention to those guys,
be careful
especially.
with
Yeah.
them. Yeah, that's great. Janet, I really appreciate this. I I think that there's a lot of folks out there that have been worried about using oils on their pets or in a home with pets.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there about this.
Unfortunately.
And we appreciate you and the other vets that are on our team to help us understand how we can use them safely, how they can benefit, the other members of our family that aren't, human members of the family, more of our furry kids there. And we appreciate that information. So I would say at the close of this, we want to make sure that we partner with our vet that's knowledgeable in essential oils for specific guidance. So people like Dr. Janet Roark that have the training in this are amazing resources to turn to get information about how you can use those specifically within your home. So thank you for joining us. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.